Okay, so how loud is the air conditioner? Can you guys hear it?
I don't hear it at all.
Your air conditioner? No.
Excellent, because it's really hot in here and I want to keep it on.
Guys, this is the manliest month ever, and you're whining about air conditioning? Come on, guys.
Oh. Wait. Don't you have AC in your house, Ren?
I don't know. What do you mean, dude?
I didn't know there were going to be so many.
That's a story for another time, all right?
Let's jump into this.
Welcome to Cinema Slime, a film discussion podcast where we stare into the pale face of death, challenge the bastard to a game of chess, and sip our existential dread from bowls of milk before the final dance. I'm Ren, one of your hosts, and as always, I'm joined by my brother-in-law, Scott.
I had a really good quote, and I forgot it.
Oh, no.
That'll do. All right, and as always, I'm also joined by my brother, Harrison.
My flesh is afraid, but I am not.
Every movie we cover is from a curated list and randomly picked based on our monthly theme. Right now, we're beginning our long, dangerous, swashbuckling, epic journey into July's film category, which is Odyssey, Myth, and Voyage. And just a reminder, if you want to jump straight to the discussion, you can use the chapters in your podcast app to skip our banter. Because today, we're heading... Hold on. Scott's got his video up. I had to derail myself. Oh, my God. You handsome devil.
Oh, gosh.
Anyways, back to the script. Today, we're heading to Sweden to discuss Ingmar Bergman's 1957 film, The Seventh Seal. Dude, I've missed you guys. And Scott, I'm so glad you're alive.
Yeah.
Like you've been battling all sorts of viruses and
sickness,
diseases
moving,
at your house
all that fun stuff.
This was a week from hell.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But I just watched The Seventh Seal, so maybe it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. I was just thinking about death a lot lately, and I was thinking about you with the moving truck, the kid's sickness. We've been trying to extend some help to you, but you've been battling it, man, like a real man.
I'm wondering, Scott, were you looking at your phone and you're like, it's incredible how many people have texted me and asked me if they need my help.
I got more than one this week, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, you made it. I'm glad to be back recording with you guys.
Me too. What was it? I actually literally just got out of the movie theater. Like I left the movie theater and came here. Yeah, so I had a pretty calm day at work today. It's pretty dang hot here. So we like to watch the previews, and then we do a thumbs up, a sideways thumb, or a down thumb if we're gonna go see it. And it was kind of cool because he actually I would do a thumbs up, and he'd be like, "No, thumbs down." I'm like, "Okay, good. You're not just following what I'm doing." But no, sat down and watched Toy Story 5. It's a bit of a mess of a movie, but there's some really high moments in it that hit you pretty dang hard. Got a couple tears out of me. But it's weird. You're just as a quick little review before we jump into our movie. You're watching it and you're like, oh, it's a movie about Bonnie. Okay, it's like, oh, it's not really about Bonnie. Okay, it's actually about Buzz. And okay, no, it's actually about Jesse, I guess now. And then these three different stories all kind of converge at the end, and you're just like, okay, sure. But then there's some really powerful scenes of Jesse thinking about back to her original owner. There's a cyberbullying scene from a bunch of kids, and I'm just like, dude, kids who bully other kids, they suck. They just suck so much. And I had a big cry reaction to it. I'm just like, this is so weird because I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I didn't get bullied as a kid. But I know that when you're a kid and you have reactions to your friends and people you want to be friends with, you have these emotional reactions. And you're like, whoa, I'm a kid. I don't know what this means. And it's so confusing and so strange. And I think that just brought up moments like that when I was a kid. And I will say the animation was really dang good. Like, I think I actually watched it and I was like, whoa, there's actually like great stuff about this, and I feel like there was an upgrade to it, so I can't deny that one.
I remember when Toy Story 4 came out, and I was like, what? Why are they even making a Toy Story 4? But then, you know, the movie was good, and it had a completely different flavor. I watched like behind the scenes kind of stuff on YouTube, and they had done some crazy stuff where they like recreated physical camera stuff in digital to get the right effect. And they had to like absolutely recreate like a split focus thing on a camera digitally just so they could get the right shot stuff. And I was like, man, they put their money where the mouth is. They're really trying with these.
Yeah,
They're
most definitely
solid. So that's cool.
Yeah, I'd be interested in watching Toy Story 5, but like I don't have the draw. But one thing you were saying about bullies,
you were the bully.
I was a bully, and I was talking about it, but only to one person. But it was so intense. I was actually just talking about my buddy Bryce because we feel so bad about it, and I've made amends with this person. You guys know her, Lorraine. Yeah, we have lots of embarrassing, just like, I mean, one time we took a dump in a plastic bag and then ding dong door ditched her before school.
God.
And then like we were in the same class with her. And she just not very well
smart.
thought out.
Wait.
But yeah. Sorry, Lorraine. Yeah, again, sorry. We're cool now.
Wait. How did Lorraine knows your poop though? That's the real question.
She doesn't.
Oh,
she doesn't.
She knows now because she's an avid listener.
She knows now. Yeah. You're gonna see. I'm gonna be very transparent on this episode. So I'm just breaking the mold right now.
It's that kind of movie.
Yeah.
That kind of movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of reflecting and about my final days and the guilt I have.
Which are coming soon, Ren.
Again, I'm sorry, Lorraine. Yeah.
Your time has come.
Yeah. So yeah. So I wasn't a bully to everyone, just like one, maybe two people.
I definitely had like one guy I picked on, but everybody picked on him, so it doesn't count, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If no one likes them, then it's fine.
I never bullied you, Harrison.
I had no spine, so I never bullied anyone.
Yeah. Well, I've already told some stories on here about the ways you bullied me, Ren. One that really stuck though is
hold on. We're brothers though.
Yeah,
We're brothers. This is true. This is like a whole different. It's not even bullying. It's totally different. You might not have seen it that way, but I was instilling toughness in you. I wasn't being evil.
That was it.
That's what I claim with my children.
Yeah.
So Red, when you almost shoved Dodger off that log, you pulled him off, and you were just like, "Hey, just so you know, I just taught you a lesson. Remember that."
It's all in your head. I'm gonna catch you. You can't fall.
You never had a dog. Don't bring it up again.
Yeah, never.
Yeah.
The one I remember was I was sleeping on the top bunk, and I woke up, and it was a book called like. Oh, what was it? It had a picture of Dracula on it, like with his hands extended out and his teeth super sharp, and it scared the absolute crap out of me. And I had a genuine fear of vampires for a really long time. Like, really scared me. I actually can very vividly remember a nightmare I had where me and Mom were in a church, and it turned out everyone in the church were vampires, and them chasing us. It was.
Wait, so I'm a bully because I put a vampire book on your bed?
Yes, you were.
All right, cool.
No,
was it like a Nosferatu? I don't remember the book, I can't imagine.
It was like
the
one
picture.
of those books where it's like, the Invisible Man, Dracula, Frankenstein, and it had a white and red cover on it.
Oh yeah, I remember. It's like the children's version of all the classics.
Exactly, but the one with Dracula on it was genuinely terrifying, and it scared me half to death. I
have a real question for you, though, Harrison.
Yeah.
Are you tougher because of it?
Am I tougher? I mean, no.
You do love Twilight. You had to get over your fear.
That's true. I did read all those Twilight books, and I guess that was the moment that I really, clung onto and said, I will not be afraid anymore.
We live in a Twilight world.
I ordered my hot sauce over an hour ago. Can we watch Tenet again?
You know what? I would.
Tenet 2.
Tenet's
We have a lot to talk about.
All you need to do is watch Tenet in reverse, and that is Tenet too.
Yeah.
honestly, you said that, and my gut reaction was like, I'd be down to watch Tenet, actually. So
Yeah,
there we
totally.
go. There's my genuine feeling about Tenet. I guess I want to watch it again.
I mean, I hyped it a lot. And then we got to it, and I was like, I mean, come on, guys. It's just Tenet. And then you guys were like, this movie's effing great. So
Dude.
it's pretty good.
It is a pretty good
It's
movie.
funny. I was listening to a film podcast today, and one of the guys doesn't care for Interstellar or Inception, and he like loved Tenet. I was like, thank you. I was like, I feel heard. Like, me and this guy. But anyways,
Yeah, you and that one guy.
you and that one guy, you guys know, on the same page.
sometimes it just feels good to be validated. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's got to be listeners who are like, yeah, Harrison's right. Paris, Texas does suck.
There's got to be. There is somebody out there.
Man, I watched Cinema Slime for Harrison because Ren and Scott are just absolute dorks.
I will
I
say
can't
this.
stand anything they say.
I will say this: if we had like a giant audience, I think it would be really interesting to see what people think about it. Like, oh, I love Harrison, or God, he drives me freaking insane. He's so stupid.
Wait, are you implying we have a
our
small
audience
audience?
isn't big enough.
Oh, I mean, we have a very large audience.
That's right.
Well, on this topic, our audience is growing.
I like that. By the way, did you watch that short of Tetsuo's girlfriend getting her head blown up inside of him?
Yeah,
Dude. Yeah.
crazy.
I'm still thinking about that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like I remember seeing, like I watched it again. I was like, okay, I do remember seeing this, but like I don't think I registered that she was like gone from the movie, so it didn't hit me. But yeah, I need to totally. I'm digesting it. I want to watch it again. And
I crushed my girlfriend in my folds.
Never.
claustrophobic bursting of her head.
I just love how Kaneda gets out by just like lasering himself out of there.
Yeah,
That was a pretty badass gun he had, I will say.
I was the other day. I was sitting there thinking about charging a laser with my motorcycle. I was like, that's the thing. when it's easy to get gas, but not a charger.
But you know,
it's funny.
Oh, sorry, I'm trying to transition.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
But you know who can't charge laser guns? It's these people in the Seventh Seal, because it's way back during the Crusades.
Oh,
Thank you for
man,
that, Bandit. That was a pretty bad transition.
That was pretty bad. That'll go down into history. That's below Scott level.
That's surprisingly hard to do.
Any other transitions we can think of?
Oh, we can try. We can throw out a couple of them.
I mean, we could beat it to death.
All right, that's good.
You'll
That's
find
enough. You guys are done. Both of you are done.
You'll find a way to
transition
edit
today.
it all. No transition. Just cut it off right here.
I love these. Go for it, Ren. Blow my mind. Especially about this movie. I don't even know what you're going to say. This cheery movie.
Set against the bleak, apocalyptic landscape of 14th century Sweden, a disillusioned knight returns from the Crusades only to find his homeland ravaged by the Black Plague. When the pale figure of death appears to claim him, the knight bargains for his life by challenging the Grim Reaper to a high-stakes game of chess, hoping to prolong his existence just long enough to find one meaningful redemptive act. As they move pieces across the board, the knight travels a land gripped by religious hysteria, encountering a colorful, tragic cast of travelers who force him to confront the agonizing silence of God. This is Ingmar Bergman's 1957 film, De Sjunde in Seglet, or The Seventh Seal in English.
So I think I need to fact check you on two things there real quick. First off,
Yes?
they were not a colorful cast. It was black and white.
Merle O'Brien would have fit in well in this cast.
You keep her name out of your mouth.
And the second thing is, I'm not sure I would classify this as a high stakes game of chess. It was very long.
Well, the stakes are high.
I guess
it
the
just
stakes
took a long
were high.
time. Yeah, the stakes are
very,
high,
very
but there's no
calm.
intensity around it, I guess.
You know, one time he did knock the chess pieces over.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
You bring up a good point how they like continue the game like with all these breaks in between. I don't think that was really established in the beginning, but I love that they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
It's pretty cool. This is your movie, Scott. And I don't know if you've seen it before, but why don't you start us off like the good old days?
Yeah.
Just like last month. So no, I'd never seen The Seventh Seal before. I'd never heard of The Seventh Seal before, though I had seen a picture of death before from this movie, and freaking awesome costumes for this movie. This, like I said, is probably the cheeriest movie I've ever seen in my life. I finished it today, and I've just been sad.
just depressed and sad.
But I'm also really excited to talk about it with you guys, because I think that there's a lot to talk about. It's a heavy movie. It's not at all subtle. It's like overt exactly what it is, and learning about Ingmar Bergman. This movie is just, there's a lot behind it. I will say that I picked this movie because our theme of myths, legends, and odysseys, I was looking for movies that had a specific kind of flavor, and I found out that the flavor is a romance story, which is someone's internal struggle is depicted externally, and so the external events are mirroring the main character's internal progress that they need to make. So every single character serves a point. And it's really more a philosophical story than anything else, than a true story or even a parable per se. It's just really an exploration. I think this movie nailed it. And there's a lot of deep questions that this movie opens up, and I'm excited.
Yeah, so my experience watching this film, I was just like in awe of this movie. Like that first shot of death, like showing up, I was like, like, oh my gosh, like it actually like kind of terrified me. And just that moment of when he's like about to kill him, and then he's like, hey, do you want to sit down and play chess? And the death's like, oh, I'm down. Like, this is interesting. And I was like, okay, you got me. Like, hook, line, and sinker. I'm down and ready for this movie.
I love how he was like, how did you know I like to play chess? I saw it in paintings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I'm watching the film. The beginning's really strong. I will say there's a bit of a lull in the middle that I kind of had to like, shake my head and be like, okay, hold on, let's rewind and watch this again. But that last 20 minutes was like an existential crisis, like on screen. I was just like breathing heavy and just like, oh my gosh, like what is happening here? And like so many questions popped in my head that I'm like, whoa, let's not go down that road too much, because if I go down that road, I don't know if I'm going to make it back. But no, overall, I've never heard of this movie before. I will say I do remember the image of them sitting down and playing chess, though. I actually was doing a little background research, and one of them was like, yeah, this sitting down and playing chess, like this movie, that's where like this trope came from. Like this is like the origin of that trope, going forward in other films. Like there's like when films do a scene of someone playing chess with death, they're referencing this moment. And I think that's really just really cool to see the origin of something like that. But no, overall, I had a great time watching this movie. And yeah, like I said, I'm excited to talk about it too.
Yeah, I'd known about the movie vaguely. I just never really like had the desire to watch it because I don't think I knew what the title was. I just like seen the imagery, probably similar to you guys. But it was really interesting because we went to Canida in Madras, kind of Bend, Oregon area. And I was watching this movie, and they have this giant, like 8-foot by 8-foot chess set there. And I kept like riding my bike by it and being like, it's kind of creepy out of nowhere. I'm just imagining that actor, Bengt Eckerott, who played Death, just imagining him there with his little white face poking out of his black cloak.
With his like eyebrows, like his bald-headed brow, like golly,
his white
fierce
face. But yeah, I felt the depth of the film once I finished it, and I think this is a movie that everyone should see at least once. This is probably the most symbolic film that we've watched so far. Like, this is man's search for meaning wrapped up in this strange gothic art house cinema package. And I mean, right off the bat, I just remember thinking of this like right away, but it shows that black crow just like soaring over them over the beach. And being able to kind of go back and rewatch, I'll talk about it later, but there's some things that I didn't notice the first time that I could really appreciate the second time. But overall, I mean, the cinematography in this movie is gorgeous. The music is like dark. It's dramatic and like ominous. I was really surprised at how much I loved everyone in this movie, like the entire cast. John in particular has so many classic lines.
The Squire.
Jan is like his sidekick guy who's kind of like talking in Plog's ear the whole time. And anyways, he's awesome. And then I thought, in my opinion, this movie did a really good job at building fear from within the community of the people going around this horrible plague that's going on. I mean, the wandering cross-bearers whipping the prisoners, the fire and brimstone prophetizing man. He spreads warning and fear to everyone that they pass by. That one guy is like talking about the rumors of the plague in the bar.
I wanted to text you, and I was like, did you have any like traumatic, like, fire and brimstone? Like, I don't want to.
No, I appreciate it for once.
no, but I agree. The fear in this movie is really intense and very chaotic. Like, I don't want to jump to the end scene, but yeah, that scene when death like zooms in on them, I'm just like, that, like, I actually wrote down multiple times in this film, like, that was ominous. Like, I just wrote that like 5 times in my notes. And actually, one of the first notes I wrote was, I think I'm having the Ring flashback, seeing the horses like running through the ocean or like being near the ocean.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, right? I was like, that's an interesting little homage that maybe the Ring got it from. That is a really weird thing to think about now. Like, when they were making the Ring, why did they choose to have horses dying in the ocean? You know, it could have been really anything. It could have been birds falling from the sky. It could have been, sheep from a nearby farm or something, but it was horses. And I wonder if that was a little homage to the Seventh Seal.
All I know is that when I saw this, I was like, man, I don't think I've ever seen like horses standing in a rocky ocean beach before. like one of those, like, I don't have like another image that I'm associating that with. And that's really uncommon. Another funny thing about the beginning of this movie is the night Antonius is out there like splashing his face with like seawater to like wake him up and like cleanse his face. And I was like, nice saltwater face splash. That's not something I would have ever thought of doing before.
And then what? Then he steps over his squire and his squire like hisses at him like a cat.
He's like,
Does that a few times.
That was so weird. I was like, I feel like that's a very modern reaction. I don't know if they did it back then, but like I do that sometimes. Like if I have to get up and Nicole's like, you got to get up. I'm just like, it's just something that
made me think of in Mrs. Doubtfire. He does that to the little girl who plays Matilda. They're like, talk. Anyways, yeah, dumb. I loved one thing in particular I got to bring up. But,
do it.
I wrote down all the chess scenes that are going on. But what I loved about the writing of this movie is the mental chess that's going on between Death and Antonius Block. Because there's a few different times where like they're trying to outsmart each other, and Antonius Block has the balls to think that he can outwit Death. And I just have a couple written down, but we'll go over them here. Okay, so
let's do it.
Antonius Block, he's giving his confession to Death, unknowing. He doesn't know it's him. And he explains to him his game strategy of defeating him with a combo of his bishop and his knight. And he's like, with the next move, I'll charge his flank. And then Death turns his head, which is really creepy, shows his face, and he goes, I'll remember that. I was like, oh my God. And then later, Block is kind of laughing as he's playing with Death. He's just saying, like, well, I gave away my strategy. Now I need to retreat. And Death takes his knight and he goes, why are you laughing? Just to save your king? He goes, your move, but be quick. I'm in a hurry. And it's just like this, like these little like jabs that he has.
Oh yeah.
That I thought were really awesome. The most chilling For me, like it like really got my attention. But he asks him, "Are you escorting the jesters through the forest? The ones called Yoff and Mia? Do they have a little son?" And Antonius Block is like, "Yeah, why do you ask?" And he goes, "No reason."
Dude.
I'm like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, no, that one
And,
tripped me up pretty dang bad. I was like,
That one's awesome.
that was ominous. I just wrote that down again. Yeah, no, the mental game that's going on during the physical game is really, really powerful. And I think that Antonius's attitude throughout this whole thing is also really interesting too, because just think about, like, wait a minute, I challenged death to chess and now I actually get to sit down and do it. And I feel like you'd go through a lot of emotions there. There's like fear of like, I'm actually sitting down with chess and doing this. Then you get like confidence of like, I think I'm actually winning and I'm actually pushing off, my death to see what I can achieve with this last bit of my life. And then probably an existential crisis when he's about to defeat you and kill you. And then that merciful moment at the end when he knocks over the chess pieces so that Yoff and his wife could like escape before death takes him and the others. Like what an emotional journey that I'm sure he went through during that whole experience.
That part's cool. He's like, "Oh, I forgot where the pieces were," and he's like, "I haven't."
I haven't. Slowly starts setting them back up again. You're just like, oh man, you're killing me, dude. Well, you're going to kill me, actually.
Yeah. So on my second view, I noticed this. He holds out his hand in the very beginning. He holds his hand out to let Death pick which color he selects. He picks black, and he goes, "Oh, very appropriate, don't you think?" Watching it the second time, I think what I've come to is that Death was in control the entire time.
100%.
You can't outwit the Death. Like, there's no way to get around it. I think that was another part of the mental chess of it, where he thought that he didn't choose black. I don't know. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I was like, "Oh, that's kind of creepy."
No, I could definitely see that. One thing that I wrote down is I wrote down everybody's death in this movie because there's such a wide variety of how people accept death and what they did in their last moments. And I'm curious. I feel like Death was like, this is interesting. I want to know what he's going to do with these last few moments of his life. Why would he want to prolong his life? And what does he need to achieve in order to accept death? And when I can finally come in and swoop and kill him. So just like in terms of the deaths that happen in this film, you have the knight who's trying to delay his death. You have the actor. He pretends to kill himself to kind of get out of trouble from sleeping with that guy's wife. And then he climbs up the tree and Death is like, no.
I love the tree scene.
Like, that's not how this works. And he actually saws down the tree. I thought that was wild. I just like screamed. I was like, this is so crazy. And then you have the witch at the very end. She almost like just accepts that she's about to die. She's not screaming. She's not terrified. She's not begging for her life. She's like, no, I know where I'm going. And that whole conversation with Antonius is absolutely nuts. And then the death of the plague victim that they run into when they're in the woods, and he's terrified, he's scared, he's trying to cling to life as much as he possibly can, and then he dies just pretty dang miserably. So I wonder if Death just approached this and he's like, yeah, I've seen all of these reactions to it, but this is different, and I want to see what he's going to do with it.
I love the way that Death is depicted in this movie, and I think subsequent media depictions of Death, that he's terrifying not because what he does, but what he represents. He's just, people are scared of death, and that's it. There's the unknown that comes after death. There's the unknown. There's the pain that's going to be associated with death, all those things. And, it's like your life's done and you can't move on from there. So, and then, when other people die, you feel the grief of it. So when it's your turn to die, when every single person that has a conversation with death before he dies, they're like kind of negotiating or their acceptance or whatever the case is, and how death just stands there looming, but not angrily. He's not like a horror creature. He's just existential dread.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not the devil. He's death.
Yeah. Big difference. So here, let's just get into the big question, guys. Have you guys ever been scared of death? Is that ever a fear that has kind of loomed in your life ever? because for me personally, whenever I think of like me dying, I never really worry about me. I mean, I just think about my family and like what would happen to them and other people around me. But I think I've kind of like set this thing in my head where it's like, well, I can't really control too much what happens after I die, so I'm not going to worry about it.
I would be dishonest if I said that I wasn't scared of death. But I think I'm more sad about death than anything. Like for similar reasons. I'm sad about the people I would leave behind. I'm sad about what I would miss.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm sad when other people die and I see the grief around it. I am scared of pain.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid of like getting in a car wreck and getting impaled and dying over 20 minutes. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
You know, like I've thought through those sorts of things. I've had enough friends or close acquaintances die of painful means. For example, like, so Paige has some friends that they were in a car together. They went off a road and like at 90 something miles an hour and slammed into the trees in a forest on one of the winding roads out here in wine country. And I will sometimes wake up, like jolt awake, wake up from sleep thinking about that. Like those last 3 seconds of like, you can't control it. And
Yeah.
there's nothing to do except just like look at your fate. And I think this whole movie captured that in a way. And that's honestly why I feel the way I feel after this movie, is because it's just such an honest depiction of life is a messy, scary, unknown thing. And we all have all these things we're trying to do in it. And you just, sometimes things just don't get satisfied and it's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just to derail just for a second. So I was friends with those guys too. And it's interesting that moment, Paige came and woke me up after that happened. And I remember my mom came in and talked to me about it afterwards. And that kind of created this origin of, she told me, she was like, why don't you go take a shower, get dressed, you'll feel better. And now anytime someone dies or something terrible happens, I have to go take a shower and like change all my clothes. It's just like a routine I do now, which luckily doesn't happen a ton in my life, but enough that I've noticed it happen. What about you? What about you, Ren? Do you want to talk about your greatest fear and, worries about death and
I'm scared of spiders.
Yeah, that's true.
Mostly spiders. Yeah.
And going to the grocery store.
Yeah, grocery shopping for my wife. That's the worst. No, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons I've connected with this movie. I've struggled with God my whole life, and there are more times in my life that I've felt like Antonius Block than I haven't felt like Antonius Block.
Yeah.
Like it's this thing that just gnaws at me. And there's something that Death says to him, and he goes, most people don't think about death. And I think that's true. Some people don't. Some people obsess over it. But then there's sometimes where like I'll be around someone, I'm like looking at them, I'm like, do you ever think about it? Sometimes I just want to like grab people and be like, let's talk about something really difficult right now.
Yeah.
Except politics. Anything but politics. I'm totally down to talk about.
If you enjoy watching our show on Spotify or YouTube and you want to be more involved, we encourage you to please come check out our Patreon community. Not only does our Patreon community get every episode you see on YouTube early, fully uncut, uncensored, and ad-free, but we're also doing Patreon-exclusive episodes, as well as Q&As, video clips, and access to our entire film catalog. It's a lot of fun and a nice way to say thanks for the cost of a cup of coffee every month. Now, back to the show.
But there's some people who I'm just like, dude, do you ever, you're so head in the clouds.
Shallow.
Like, you need to think about these things. But I've had run-ins with death. I've faced it. I've challenged it, and I'm still here. But I've not shied away from it either. Especially when I was younger, like in my early 20s. But I've seen some things, and I truly think that when you've gone so low, it actually creates a window and gives you building blocks to build on. Mm-hmm. And when looking at this film, like through that sort of lens, shout out Scott, you can discuss how it is actually not really a depressing movie about death, but it's actually kind of beautiful because it's about how to find a reason to live. And I've definitely purposely developed a stronger appreciation for life, which is something I took for granted. Like, this is kind of personal, but like, I remember being in high school and like joking with my friends that like, yeah, I won't live till I'm 23. Like that, and I lived my life that way. And I remember like on my 23rd birthday, I was just like, what? Because I'd made like positive changes in my life about 2 years prior. And I was like, I can't believe I used to like say that. Like I like kind of welcomed it in a way. Oh, back to the film though. The scene where Antonius Block, like he's enjoying the company of all of his friends that they're all traveling together with.
The strawberries and milk.
Yeah.
Yes, that he finally, it just kind of like, it's like this light bulb in his head, and it's all about human connection. But yeah, he's eating the strawberries, the bowl of milk. He sips through it. He sees the baby, the actors there playing the lyre, just the beauty of life, and he just realizes that that's what happiness in life is about. How to find that reason, being with others, and just having gratitude. And I just think that is such. Actually, that moment didn't even like impact me the first time I watched it, but on my second viewing, I was like, oh, that part's awesome. Like, I didn't catch it the first time.
No, yeah, that scene hit me like a freaking truck on my first watch. Actually, I was just like,
really, yeah,
yeah. It was just that was the moment when it's like, oh, this is what it's about. You know, it's about being with people you love and you care about, and experiencing great moments with others. I mean, thinking back to, all of my favorite memories in my life, it always involves other people. Like I really appreciate my time by myself. I really like having moments where I get to sit down and read, or I get to sit down and play a game, or just have some peace and quiet. Like I really, really appreciate that. But when I think back to all the great memories I've had in my life so far, it's pretty much always involving other people. And that moment was just a beautiful imagery and just a real piece of artwork there. Like that scene is. You said this at the beginning, Ren. You were like, I think everyone needs to watch this film. And I've thrown that out a couple times for other films just because I'm like, no, that movie is so entertaining that I think everyone will enjoy it. But this is a movie I'm like, no, I think everyone needs to watch this at least once just so you could watch it and have it make you question things and have you appreciate your life and what's going on in it.
So I feel like everyone needs to question the meaning of life, question God, question their spirituality to be healthy, right? Like brutally rock bottom, Antonius Block level of soul searching, because without that larger than you meaning, life really is a messy, hysterical, and hysterical in the not literal sense of the word, but hysterical in the like mass hysteria kind of sense that this movie captures really well. So I think one thing that's really beautiful about this movie, powerful and bleak about this movie, is that Ingmar Bergman does not definitively say God exists. He doesn't say God doesn't exist. He doesn't say it doesn't matter either way. What he says is, this is my experience of my questioning my crisis of faith. So, like, I learned that Bergman is the son of a pastor who was a rough, this early Lutheran, we would say abusive today, but normal for its time, like almost cult-like level of like pastoral abuse with God as your sword, right? And like, I don't believe that that's right. I don't believe that that's right at all, and I don't think either of you guys do either. But it's also like an honest depiction of the dark side of what religion taken to an extreme can be. I don't think it's an accurate depiction of what Christianity is, but it's an honest depiction of how people have done it, right? And there are so many layers to Antonius's. So just walking through the characters a little bit and kind of their stereotype, I guess, or their type in this movie. So Antonius Block is the scientific, like, I need a sign something to prove to me that everything I did in these crusades and everything that I'm seeing around meant something, because otherwise it's just the hollowness that I feel. And we've all felt that, right? Then there's his squire, Johns, who is the pragmatist who basically went through what Antonius did previously, but then comes out and goes, no, God's not real. All we have is us. And look at everyone, all the hypocrisy and the cynicism, and like they're a bunch of sheep. And like the scene with the witch is a really, really good example of this, where she's like this 14-year-old girl, right? And she's talking about dealing with the devil, and like that's a thing that teenagers do, and girls in particular go through puberty and all that kind of stuff. Like people get crazy when they're going through puberty. And so people in their mass hysteria decide that, hey, this little girl is the reason we've got the plague and she's claiming it too. So let's burn her as a witch. Okay. So the whole like incredibly dark graphic witch scene at the end at the pyre is this like little girl getting burnt, and all she sees is terror. Like she's just terrified, but the devil's not actually there. So there's no supernatural at all. And Johns is like, just look at it. This is just one more thing. And he's self-perpetuating his own disbelief. Whereas Antonius is still searching for that. And then I think it's a really interesting contrast. You have Yoff and Mia, and their names are so close to Joseph and Mary, and their little son, Mikhail, is supposed to be like this innocent purity, like the depiction of Christ essentially is the perfect little child and goodness in the world. And they're not religious, but it's like they're the exception to the rule. Like religion's supposed to be there to help the masses come back to Christ, but when they abuse it, it doesn't work. And then so they basically prove that like that saying that religion and Christ together are not the same thing either. God and religion don't necessarily need to go together because they're good people without it. And the fact that they're the imaginative ones, they're the ones that just roll with life. They live life instead of trying to dissect life or understand life or whatever. They just do things. They're happier, and they still deal with the same consequences as everyone else, but they are innocent and pure because of it. And then you basically have layers. I think there's one other character, the mute girl. She doesn't say a single thing throughout the whole movie except at the very end. And she's a really, really interesting character for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But
I want to talk about her in particular. So yeah, go ahead.
But her final line is, "It is finished." That is the exact same line that Christ says on the cross just before he dies. And so the fact that she's this extremely vulnerable, quiet, humble, she's the most humble out of everyone and comes from the most humble circumstances of everyone and has no ego or pride. And she follows Johns, who's just an absolute jerk to her, to be his housekeeper and stuff like that, is like, she is also like a depiction of Christ, but like an honest depiction of Christ rather than the hysterical monk version of Christ with the flagellation and stuff like that. So there's so many layers of this poor director. Bergman is just like sorting through the abuse and trauma of his life and the fear of death and the fear of going to hell and stuff like that. And he just, like every one of his movies, this one and everyone else, is some depiction of his crisis of faith and him trying to articulate it. And I think he does an exceptionally good job in a way that someone who was fully like, God's not real, has an agenda, and someone that's like, no, this is a God movie to prove that despite the world being terrible, God still exists, that has an agenda. But Bergman has no agenda other than like, this is the crazy, crazy life that me and other people had, like, this is what religion is actually like when it's taken to these extremes. And this is what people actually have to deal with in hard situations when the Black Plague comes through and stuff like that. So this movie was deep.
Yeah. One thing real quick about Ingmar Bergman, I've only seen one other film other than this, and it's Persona. But both films that I've seen are like painfully personal. Like you can just feel it. And this one, dude, I love this movie, but I found it really interesting that this was Ingmar Bergman's way to like kind of exorcise his demons, because there was a long period of time after the movie came out. First of all, he didn't think it would be successful at all. He didn't talk about it for years. He was just totally unwilling, like, to talk about it. But later on, he brought it up and he goes, I wrote that film to conjure up my own fear of dying. My fear of death, like you said, Scott, this infantile fixation of mine was at that moment overwhelming. I felt myself in contact with death day and night, and my fear was tremendous. But when I finished the movie, my fear completely went away. And I love that because I feel it's sort of like if you have something horrible happen to you or you have some trauma, like the only way to get over it is to face it. It's the only way. You can't keep pushing it under the rug and don't think about it and just think about happiness. Like, I don't believe in that. I've done that. It doesn't do anything. It just prolongs it. Yeah, it just makes you suffer longer.
Exactly.
And anyways, I got 2 other movies of his from the library today, and I'm just excited to go down the Bergman route.
So Harrison, I've got a question for you if you're willing to be vulnerable.
All right. We'll see. What's the question?
So you've talked a couple of times just in passing about, having gone through therapy and stuff. I've never done therapy. It's probably something I should do, but me and Paige were having a conversation just last week about, so Paige was like, is part of a Marco Polo group with some girlfriends she's got, and she was just sharing some really, really hard stuff that was going on in her life. And then she finished and was like, why do I feel better just saying it? Like, and it's been eating at me for so long. And she was sharing that with me, and she goes, in the LDS church, we don't really have the structure to just like talk through stuff with people. Like, we're just much more of a service oriented or a look to an eternal perspective and like pray, and there's like that communion with God, and it's a very literal one and stuff like that, but there isn't like a sit down and talk to somebody. And so when I was watching this movie, it made me think in that context, that being a conversation I just recently had with Paige, it made me think of how cathartic it seemed to Antonius Block to be confessing. And I've always had this weird relationship of not really understanding Catholic confession, right? Yeah. It's just not culturally something that I could really understand. And like, especially when you get into like the bastardization of it with like paid confessions and sins. I like, whatever, It
seems incriminating.
Right. It does seem incriminating. But it seemed to be really cathartic to Antonius Block, and so I assume by extension it was put in that way, is that like as what Bergman was feeling, sharing those thoughts through expressing it through his movie. This is like almost his confession of making the movie, and him being the son of a Lutheran pastor, I'm sure he confessed as a child, and there was something cathartic, even if weird, about it. So anyway, all of that as a context. Harrison, do you have any thoughts about therapy and the distinction between therapy and religion, and what has helped you overcome things and what has not, versus prayer or having a testimony or not, or whatever the case is?
Yeah. Okay. Whew. All right, here we go. I'll say, which this is really funny because Ren actually asked me a bunch of questions about therapy, just like last week or something like that, and I was talking to him about him in the car. The one thing I will say about therapy is I feel like the stigma around it is really not bad anymore. The amount of times that people have come to me and said, I actually just went to my first therapy appointment, and my reaction and everyone around me is like, awesome, go you, man. There's a huge positivity around it nowadays, because it is so helpful. Like, it really is, because the thing is, I feel like when you're trying to work something out, you're trying to get your emotions in order, or you went through something traumatic, which happened to me a ton in 2025. Like, the first 6 months of 2025 is probably the worst stretch of my whole life that we ever went through, me and Nicole. And being able to go to somebody, and like, basically, instead of me sitting there trying to work it out in my head, and my head turns into a storm cloud some days, where it's just like my own self-doubt yelling at me, or like there's just so much going on in my own head that it's hard to get things organized. So when you go to a therapist, one of the things that really helped me out was I would sit down, and actually, honestly, like the 30-minute drive to go to therapy, you're already like prepping what you're going to say to this person, and you're trying to like organize your thoughts so I can like say it out there. I actually had the exact same experience when I'm going through a Dutch Bros drive-through. I'm like, okay, what am I going to say to these people to make them think my life is interesting? But anyways,
What about a
But now-
Carl's Jr. drive-through?
yeah. Well, that's a different type. That's a different type of confession.
Like a double animal style.
But no, like the main thing that really helped me out in therapy was you kind of like vomit it out, and it's shocking how much you figure it out on your own. And
Why?
and like, well, it's just the thing is this, like when you vomit it out and you stick it out on the table, you're hearing yourself talk about it. And you start piecing it all together. Like, I really can't remember a time. Like, therapy isn't really you sit down and you tell them something. They go, okay, here's your step-by-step plan. Here's the 7 things you're going to do to make your life better. At least my experience wasn't like that. My experience was I would vomit it out. I would basically kind of figure it out myself. But then my therapist would kind of pop in and be like, hey, what about this? And they would ask a question.
Yeah.
And you just go, I never thought of it like that. I never approached it from that angle. Or they make a comment that just kind of like, it's like putting a puzzle piece into this giant puzzle that I've created. And they stick those in there and you really just start unlocking things in yourself. And you're like, holy crap, that's why I felt this way. Like my emotional reaction that I just had to this event that happened to me, the reason I felt that way is because of X, Y, and Z. And it's really just about understanding your own emotions and why you feel the way you feel when certain things happen. I have examples, but I don't really want to share them because they're pretty dang personal and stuff I don't really want to talk about. But anyways,
Would you say then that it absolutely makes sense to you that Bergman felt cathartic relief by creating this movie, even though it was a different medium than therapy?
Oh, 100%. Because the thing is this, there's something very, I don't know, there's something really great about talking to somebody who isn't involved at all. Like just talking to a complete third party who knows nothing about you. You're just a blank person full of flesh and blood to them, you know? And when you get to talk and let it all out, and then when they give you advice, you're like, there's nothing coloring that advice at all. You're not pushing me to achieve your own ends or, you know, they're not trying to make their lives better. My therapist isn't saying, you know, giving me advice. So like, oh, if I give Harrison this advice, he might do X, Y, and Z, and therefore my life gets better. And that can happen when you're talking to family members or other people that are around you. Like, actually, a really good example. I have a friend, he's having a lot of relationship problems with his girlfriend right now. And they keep coming to me for some advice. And I have this coloring of, well, I want you two to stay together because if you break up, then I get him in the divorce and I have to deal with a sad friend, you know? And sometimes I might even have moments where I'm like, I'm giving you advice to stay together, and maybe I don't think you should stay together because you two are so freaking toxic to each other. You need to get better at it. But yeah, like when you talk to people who know you, like there is always kind of a little bit of, you know, background noise in terms of the advice they give you. And I think going to therapy with someone who doesn't know you at all it's very relieving.
Yeah, I think especially knowing somebody's like religious affiliation or their political leanings or whatever the case is, you're like, I'm going to ask you this, but I kind of already know what you're going to say, whether you know it or not, but it's going to color how you ask the questions, and it probably is going to color what answers you get.
Yeah, and I think the other big thing about it, like you were talking about confession and all that, when at least most of the time, and at least in my circumstance, when I went to therapy, it was my choice to do that. There wasn't a guilt around it. Like that's one thing I struggled a lot growing up in my life was just guilt. I felt so much guilt over so many things, and I like ate my body. Like I just chewed up my own self so much growing up. And there was something really relieving about like, okay, I'm not going to confess, you know, things that have happened to me. I'm going because I want to be better, and I'm choosing to make this drive, you know, once a week to go talk to this person. And there hit a point where it was just like, I'm actually looking forward to therapy because then I get to get all this stuff out of my head and just have a better life afterwards. So yeah, I went to therapy for, I think about a year or so. Nicole's in therapy right now. She's been doing it for about 2. And it's just been it's been good. it's a really good thing to do. And if you guys are even thinking about doing it, and anyone listening to this podcast, if you're thinking about going to therapy, find a way to do it. I know it could be expensive, but there's programs out there. Look through your health insurance, find a way to do it, because I think almost everybody on this planet can go to therapy and benefit from it.
Yeah, insert therapy sponsor.
Sponsor right here.
Have you tried Drzepatide?
I heard Skyrizi could really help you out.
You guys are idiots. It's all about Zysol.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Real quick, let's pivot back. I just want to talk. We can just kind of go through. There's so many good scenes in the movie, but let's just go through the cast. We gotta kind of mention everyone.
Oh yeah.
I think Max von Sydow is one of the most attractive, unique-looking people I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah. Okay,
same with
really
Death.
Interesting. Yeah. So one thing I found really interesting, and Ingmar Bergman was just fascinated with his look, and he kind of brought him into the acting sphere. And come to find out, he was just like, I don't know, there's something about the look of this guy. Like, he should be in the films. Antonius Block, when he was like 7 or 8, worked at a morgue, and he was around dead people like all the time. He himself also kind of had like problems with his faith and all that type of stuff. But it really shows. He was 30 or 27 years old when he filmed this movie. He does not look like a 27-year-old.
Everyone looked older back in the day, man.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, definitely a distinctive look. Just a preview for next week's show, but he's also in Conan. I don't know if you guys have watched
have no
it,
idea.
but-
Sick. So, just one quick thing about him. So yeah, Seventh Seal was his 5th film that he was ever involved in, according to IMDb. How many acting credits do you think he's got to his name?
132.
No idea.
165 films.
I honestly never heard of this guy before this movie, so
He's everywhere, but I didn't know his name.
Yeah, no, his first film was all the way back in 1949, and actually, I think, let me look. His last film was in 2021.
what's his most popular movies?
Most popular, so his top films. This is just IMDb. It's just films he's known for. Flash Gordon.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Flash Gordon, The Seventh Seal, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, Minority Report. Those are kind of the top 4.
Minority
They're
Report.
Also Game
there.
of Thrones.
Yep. He was also in Game of Thrones. He did a great job in that one as well.
Hey, everybody, just popping in real quick. If you could hit that like and subscribe button, that would really help us out a lot. But either way, let's get back to the show.
Cool.
And Conan.
And Conan. Oh, he was the Emperor Ming. I don't know. That could get a little questionable.
All right, Ren, who's next?
Plog, the pitiful, self-defeated drunken dude in the bar.
The Smith?
I loved him.
Oh, the Smith.
I loved him. He was so funny.
Golly.
Okay.
You're howling like a cat.
Can't find his wife.
Actually, honestly, that scene where what is it? Okay, so he confronts the actor who is sleeping with his wife, and the squire is like whispering insults,
Narrating everything.
to narrate anything. That whole
Yeah.
scene I was watching, I was like, this feels like a Shakespearean play right now. I mean,
I
it
love that
definitely
part.
100%.
it definitely mirrors Cyrano. I think that's the one I was thinking of, the guy with the big nose. But honestly, then I was really thinking about this whole film. I'm like, this would actually make a really incredible stage play. I bet this could be something really amazing to see on stage and right in front of your face.
Also, there's a moment where Plog has a fourth wall moment where he looks into the camera.
I didn't catch that.
I was like, what the hell? I was like, this must be the first time ever. I looked it up. It wasn't. But Ingmar Bergman was the first to do that in another film.
Interesting.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out. There's this awesome. It's on Canopy. It's a documentary, but it's called The Story of Film. A really interesting series. Really dry narration, but endlessly fascinating and really informative. And I would highly recommend that. But there's an episode all about Ingmar Bergman. Really cool. But for the film geeks, it's not the first fourth wall.
It is not.
It is not. Which I always thought came from what's that movie with Matthew Broderick?
Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, in the very end, I remember being like 6 years old and being like, "Wait, what? Is he? What? Me? Is he talking to me?" But yeah, BB Anderson, absolutely gorgeous. Also, there's a really good documentary about her relationship to Ingmar Bergman, and she's in like every Ingmar Bergman.
Or is this Mia?
No, she's the really pretty. Let me see. Let me look up her name. Mia.
Mia. Yeah. Holy crap.
Mia. Yeah.
Attractive and fun
Yeah.
and sweet.
And then Gunnar Bjornstad, who plays Jans. Love him. But yeah, he has all the kind of banter. He's kind of in the ear of the Smith you were talking about.
At the beginning, he seemed like immature, but as the movie went along, I was like, oh, he's like the Han Solo. He's just like the really honest. I mean, he's probably the most like honest and noble and morally good person in the whole movie, and he's just got this facade of like cynicism around himself to protect his honesty and nobility from everything, from being destroyed. But I love the way he depicted his character, and he's an attractive, manly dude.
He also has, I think if we're talking about the same person, he also has one of the most insane pieces of dialogue I think I've heard in a long time, but he's talking to the mute girl.
Oh,
and
God.
He's like, I'm talking about, but I have it written down. He's like, I could have raped you, but I didn't. Besides, it gets a little dry in the end. And then he laughs and then says, if I have any luck, my wife is dead at home now. I need a housekeeper. Are you any good at cooking? And now you owe me your life because I didn't kill you. And then she follows him. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
So messed up. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that was shockingly inappropriate.
I mean, two things on that. The first is like this time period, Black Death survival. Like he was less bad than the other guys, so it was just pure survival. And like she wouldn't have survived without being part of that troop. Like that's just the sick reality of the 1300s Black Plague medieval era. Number two is she's supposed to, like I said earlier, like her character is a type of Christ, and that humble, like vulnerable, abused kind of character. And then she's the one that, is the most aware and most accepting of death in the end, not out of fear, but just understanding of what life was about. And so she's a really interesting character for both reasons, and how brutally, sickly honest and horrible her depiction was.
Yeah. There's also a really interesting scene where right before they all die, but she's looking kind of into the camera, and then she turns her head and she sees that light kind of coming through some sort of window or opening.
The only angel anyone ever saw, except for the weird actor.
Yeah. I didn't know how to, I was just like, okay, so she's seeing the light, but you said it earlier, but her last words were the same words that Jesus said on the cross. So I guess that was her accepting. I don't know. How did you read that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's as open as what you're at, but there was some symbolism in the light, and her noticing it before anyone else, and she being the only one that didn't try to negotiate or try to like quibble out of the fear of death, when the rest of the group one by one was like, but this is my wife and she's still good, and we don't fight that much, and like all those things. Everyone went through that except her. She was smiling. She was ready to go, just like Christ was.
Well, I think she's kind of this like sort of this, well, quote unquote, silent believer. I don't know. It's like there's so many like strong emotions in this film, especially when it comes to people's faith. Like we've been kind of talking about that. Scott, you went through all the characters and how kind of they view their faith in God and things like that. And there's some, kind of crazy fanatics in this film, and people who are really striving and searching for an answer, whether that's something actually appearing before them to prove that what they believe in is real or something like that. But I feel like she is just like, no, I've accepted what I believe in, and I'm going to go through my life. I'm not going to talk about it a lot. I'm not going to try and convince people to believe in what I believe, but it's my self-belief that's going to get me through this hard time. And then when it got to the end, when it got to the ending scene, she was just like, no, I'm now ready. I'm ready for this to occur. I'm not scared of death because I believe in what's going to happen to me afterwards.
Also, I want to shout out the guy who steals from the dead. He gets like the bracelet. Yeah. And then he goes manic and goes into that despair. Excellent acting. I thought that was really good. And then I want to shout out Inga Inga Landgren, who plays Karen, or I think they pronounce it like Corin,
Oh,
but
yeah.
that's Antonius Blox's wife.
Yeah.
Her eyes, when she's like staring at him and they don't really recognize each other. I think they do. I'm not really sure, but they haven't seen each other for 10 years. I didn't know if she was gonna like stab him or if she was death, like in a different form. I didn't.
Or if she was real.
My mind was going all over the place.
Or she was like
But-
a ghost, or
Yeah, I had no idea.
Crap.
But she's like striking her eye. Yeah.
Okay,
it's
so
crazy.
one thing that I noticed was that everyone in Sweden here looks like your guys' family. And I think that your family is attractive. I married into it for a reason. So this
Hey,
every
I'll take
single character, I was like, man,
These are
dang.
kind of my type.
These are some very pretty people.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, Antonius Block, his hair made me think of your boy Hawkins.
Dude.
Kind of that.
Bright white.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What was it? Speaking of attractive people, that like, what is it? Yeah, the blacksmith's wife. That whole scene where she's like flirting with the actor, and then she like literally lifts up her dress to show her ankle, and he's like, "Oh man!" Like, and then they go behind the bush, and I just wrote a note. I'm like, "Oh, that bush is gonna be rustling right now." Just
Yeah.
I just thought that whole scene was pretty. I thought that whole scene was pretty dang funny.
If this bush is rocking, don't bother knocking. I thought it was funny that they were flirting with a piece of chicken. They're just sitting there like, It's like, this is the most medieval
Incredible.
way. Like, hey, I have food. You want to come with me?
Do you want to come eat food and survive? Ooh, baby. Like,
We could
so
propagate and have 6 children, and maybe one might survive.
Yeah, why not? It's just a plague going around.
Yeah, you know, whatever. Not a big deal.
I had one question. I didn't have time to look this up, but so the scene where the actor, he's lying to save his friend because his friend is actually who stole Plog's wife. He takes the knife, stabs it into the table, and it barely misses his finger. That part's cool. And then he like has to pretend that he's not an actor, and then they put him on the table, and then they got that like puppet's foot kind of dancing on the table.
Jeez.
And then later, he looks around the corner and he sees Antonius playing chess with death, and he's the only one who can see death. And I'm wondering if it's because he got so close to death that like it kind of opened up his eyes to it later because no one else can. I don't know. Didn't look into it.
So
but I'm
here's
just
my
curious if
take.
you guys-
My take, because they put a lot of Bergman puts a lot of emphasis on this guy having these visions, and it's questionable whether or not he's actually seeing them or not. But he does see death, right? Or we at least assume he does because the main character is Antonius, and Antonius is dealing with death, and he sees the same death that Antonius is playing with. So all of that.
Mhm.
But my take is that his innocence or his purity or his jovialness allows him to just see what other people are unwilling to see. That's my take.
I like that.
He doesn't have a preconceived notion about what life needs to be. And when he lets go of harmony and what music needs to be, that's a Daft Punk reference, by the way, guys. Then he, I don't know. It's like it allows him to see the beauty and like the greater extremes without narrowing his own vision to protect his own ego. I think I don't know. That's kind of how I've approached it, and made his character much more palatable is probably the wrong connotation, but much more likable, more sweet.
That makes sense. I just assumed it was because he came so close to dying that it just kind of, I don't know.
It's a cool one. I dig it too. I could
cool.
adopt that. I remember my initial quote that I forgot.
Okay.
It was
Let's hear it.
at the beginning when Johns goes to ask the dead guy on the cliff there, like where the inn was. So he
Yes.
gets off his horse. He's like, "Hey, where's the inn?" And he pulls up his head, and then he gets on the horse. He's like, "Did he get directions?" He's like, no." He's like, "Oh, is he talkative?" "Oh, he was very articulate, but just gloomy."
Yeah.
I was like, "The guy's dead."
Yeah, well, I actually have that written down. That was another one to say. It was he was insightful but very gloomy.
Very gloomy. It's like I think that's how I'm gonna refer to dead people from now on. It's just insightful but gloomy.
What was it? Okay, I have this written down right after that. I don't know if this is something he says, but I wrote down a skull is more interesting than a naked woman. I don't know if he said
Freak.
that or something.
That was my second choice.
Well, it's
that painter.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just about to bring that up. The painter, I found it really interesting. Like, I'm trying to remember exactly what happens, but like the squire comes in, he's painting this mural up in there, and I think he asks him like, "Why are you painting all these photos of death? Like, no one's gonna look at it. Like, what's the point of looking at death and thinking about death?" And maybe that's just him being pragmatic. I don't know if that's the right word, but maybe that's just him being like, look, let's just not worry about it. Like, we're all gonna die anyway. Like, what's the point of thinking about it all the time? And I think the painter was kind of like, no, like this is something you do need to think about because you need to be prepared for what it's going to be like when you die and things like that. But
so yes, and I want to also say that historically, that's just how chapels were, right? This ancient, like early medieval Catholic church was just like, these are what the paintings were, and it's almost like Bergman just went into and saw these paintings and like the Dance of Death is a really famous silhouette of paintings and things like that. Or people playing chess with death and the flagellation and all these things were depicted all over these murals inside these churches. And it's like Bergman just went and saw all of them. It was like, what if I just made a movie that was literally what's on the walls?
yeah.
It's like, let's just take this and not even out of context, just like make this literally what is happening in the world. And that was the movie. And it's a brutal depiction, but yeah.
I think it's the painter that he says, "Do you have any gin? I've only had water all day.
I'm thirsty."
Yeah.
What did you think about Yoff, like being able to see these visions? Because he sees a vision of like, I believe it's a bunch of moms walking around with a child, and then he actually does have that moment where he sees death playing chess with Antonio, and I think I don't know, it's just interesting that he is having these visions, and I think every single time that happens, his wife is like, "Hey, what are you doing? Don't worry about that." Like, come on, come back down to earth. I don't know if that's what it is. It's just her trying to keep him grounded and be like, "Hey, we have this nice peaceful life and everything seems to be going good. Let's not worry about all these things right now." I don't know if that's what you guys took from it, but I found it interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it kind of just bleeds into what I was wondering earlier about how he can see death. But I need to rewatch it. I don't remember any other of the visions that he had.
Because there's a scene where they like wake up in the morning and he like rolls out of the cart and he looks up and he sees a bunch of like I said, like a bunch of moms like playing with a little child. A lot of naked butts in this film, by the way. A lot of little naked baby butts.
Little baby butts.
A lot of baby butts.
So Ren, nudity necessary?
We got to bring it up.
I'll allow it.
I'll allow it.
I just wanted you on camera saying that you wanted child baby butts to be necessary.
No, I said, to be clear, I'll allow it.
To be clear, cannot be taken out of context.
Yeah, you know what's funny? That actor, Yoff, I was looking at his other movies, and there's another movie where on the cover there's a baby butt. So I don't know. Yeah, I was like, what is this? Is that his thing? What is this thing? Yeah, I just wanted to shout out also, this movie might have invented the elaborate word roast battle when the squire's talking into Plog's ear. I was like, this is pretty awesome. But yeah, again, I love that scene.
Yeah, actually, one of my last notes that I got here is just a quote from when they're burning the witch and our main guy is talking to her. And I think it's her, or maybe it's him that says this. I can't remember, but he says basically, I need to ask God. I need to ask the devil about God because surely he knows of him. I thought that was like, whoa, like that was just kind of like like just sit back and kind of think about it.
How
like,
crazy is it that you want to know if God is real so bad that your only back door at this point from years of searching is to talk to a witch who claims to have seen the devil and she's getting burned at the stake because of it.
Yeah.
Well,
because if the devil's real, then God's got to be real too, right?
It's true. No, I think kind of what I took from that was just like, yeah, I mean, sometimes when you hit rock bottom in your life, and like true rock bottom, that's when you kind of learn things about yourself and probably things about God as well, if that's something you want to believe in or need to believe in. But yeah, it was just that was an interesting moment for sure.
Well, this might be a good point to pivot into the slimiest scenes. I think what we should do, just take a minute and let's try to explain to the audience what the hell is the slimiest scene.
I guess. Okay, no, I get that. I mean, so yeah, this is something we do at the end of every single one of our podcast episodes, and I guess I think maybe we've talked about it once or twice, but we don't bring it up a ton.
Out of like 60 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So actually,
we did once.
I think a good example of it, honestly, is the little trivia I did, I think 2 episodes ago, where I asked you what was your slimy scene that you talked about for previous episodes. And a slimy scene is just the one that sticks with you no matter what. It's like the first thing you think of when someone mentions that film. You know, it's the one that clings to your head, the one that makes you question it. It's the scene that makes you go, oh, I want to watch that movie again because of that scene. Or not, yeah.
But exactly. It's definitely the first thing that comes to mind, ideally.
Yeah, and honestly, out of all of us, Scott, actually, you've had a couple slimy scenes that are really interesting to me. Like for the one that is stuck in my head, my slimy scene of you, Scott, in this podcast, is you were talking about Hook, and you were like, yeah, my slimy scene is Toodles walking around trying to find his marbles. And you were talking, you're like, I've quoted that so many times throughout my life. And I just think it's really, it's just interesting. It's just interesting to think about what sticks to you when you watch a film. And I would say like that scene with Toodles looking for his marbles is pretty simple, but it's hilarious and it's always kind just interesting. Yeah, and it's perfect. And it's just interesting that that was the one that really stuck with you throughout your whole life, you know? Like everyone's experience in this life is just so different, you know? So different things are going to hit different people in different ways.
It's snowing.
It's snowing. Bam. But yeah, no, those are that's what the slimy scenes are, and we do this at the end of every single episode. Each of us picks one, and it may be just the slimy scene we have in our heads right now, and maybe in a month from now we'll think back to this movie and it might be different. But
with one caveat to everything you said is that I think it's awesome to not repeat the same slimy scene. So sometimes, basically we're thinking of the top 3 and then we go back around.
Right.
But anyways, why don't you lead us off, Harry? Why don't you go first?
All right. So my slimy scene for this movie, it really has to be, man, now I'm actually considering 2. I really had one in my head. Now I think I'm gonna stick with it. My slimy scene is the strawberries and milk scene. That beautiful. Really was so impactful to me when I watched it and when it popped up. And
somehow the only colorful film or shot in the whole black and white film.
Dude, I was literally about to say that. It's so weird. Like that scene comes on and I'm all of a sudden I'm just like, this feels colorful. It feels bright. It feels like the shining moment in this whole movie. It just feels so different than the rest of the film. And I think, and it definitely was done on purpose. But just kind of that realization of like, because he's chasing this knowledge. He wants to know that God is real. He wants that knowledge, not belief. He wants the knowledge of it. And then I feel like it's just a humbling moment for him when he sits down and they invite him to sit down. Point. Yeah, it's like, it's not the point. It's like they sit down and it's like, hey, guess what? We're this traveling circus act going around during the Black Death. Business is bad. and it's like, hey, we picked these strawberries off the side of the road. Do you want to sit down and eat this meager meal that we have with you? To sit down and eat it with us? And he's like, yeah. And they sit down. There's just this great moment. So that's my slimy scene, and I think it's going to stick with me.
Did you guys notice that their very large strawberries were also like really tiny strawberries?
Yes. There was a lot of strawberries in that bowl.
I was like, their very big strawberries are like Tillamook's or like...
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
dude, small strawberries are so much better than big strawberries.
They're genuinely better
right now. They're so much better.
So we just went berry picking, and we picked just too many strawberries, and we freeze dried them all. And so we've got like hoods. They only last like a day because the sugar content is so high. So you have to eat them right away. But we picked them and freeze dried them that day.
Oh,
and so now we've just got like this. Oh, they're so good.
Oh, that sounds so freaking tasty. Oh my gosh.
Making me hungry.
But yeah, no, my rating for this film. So I mentioned at the very beginning, there's definitely a lull in the middle for me that it's like I kind of had to like shake my head to like, refocus myself. But it doesn't take away too much from this film. And talking about it has actually just made this movie even better. I think this is definitely a movie that is kind of goes in our category of like, it's really awesome to talk about it, even if watching it might not be like the most exciting thing in the world. So my rating for this movie, I'm going to give it a 4.5. And I think that's a really solid rating for this film. But I was originally coming into this podcast episode, and I was like 4.5, but I'm not really interested in watching it again. After talking about it, I'm like, I really want to watch this movie at least one more time in my life, just so I can really chew on all the scenes now after getting my thoughts out on it and getting your thoughts as well. So yeah, 4.5. I'm excited to watch it again.
That's really cool. And yeah, just kind of circling back to what we were talking about earlier, how I think everyone should watch this at least once. Even if you never watched it again, there's something so iconic and just like true about this movie that it stands the test of time. But yeah, I agree with you. Like some of the actors like doing their little show, and like, what's it called when all the cross bears are walking through?
The self-flagellation.
Yes, yeah, the self-flagellation stuff. I didn't love that part, but
it makes Monty Python Search for the Holy Grail like hit better.
Yeah,
we got to do that one. I haven't watched that in a long time.
Yeah, we do, because I've only seen clips and I feel left out.
Ren, we have to watch it together. This is not a movie you can watch by yourself.
You know what? That would be a fun one to watch together. Okay, all right, guys. I'm mentally preparing for us to get together and watch Monty Python Holy Grail.
Well, the only part I've seen I thought was hilarious, but it's where they cut off all of his limbs, his arms and his legs, and he's just like a stump.
I'm just not even going to say anything else. Don't watch anything. Just go in as blind as possible, because it's one of those, like, there's literally nothing like it.
All right. Just quick shout out. He'll never listen to this, but Patrick Cahill, if you're listening to this episode and we're talking about this, I spent nights and nights with Patrick Cahill quoting this movie. Like, I would go over to his house, we would watch it, and we would spend hours just reenacting this movie. It's, oh man, good memories, good times. Anyways, keep going.
And after we watch that, we'll watch Blazing Saddles.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
All right, so the slimiest scene for me, I mean, the answer is probably just the beginning when they're on the beach, but my favorite is when Scat, the actor's in the tree. He looks down at Death cutting it, and he starts to compromise with Death, and he's like, what about my contract? He looks up, terminated. My family, my children. He's like, oh, Scat, you should be ashamed. He goes, yes, I am ashamed. Are there no reprieves, exemptions for actors? No, not in this case. No loopholes? No exceptions? He says nothing. And then he silent screams. The tree topples over. And then the most adorable little Swedish squirrel pops up.
Ren,
and apparently that wasn't planned, and they caught that on film.
Ren, I have to tell you that while you were describing that, it was playing on the TV directly behind you.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
That's
meant to
so
be
awesome. By the way, my one note on that scene is when Death is like walking towards that tree, I literally thought he had like a giant baseball bat and he was going to beat the shit out of him. That's what I was like, what the hell? Oh my gosh. I was like, oh, okay. Whew.
Yeah, Cash, he was watching it with me, and he was like, that was the most perfect squirrel I've ever seen in my life.
That is, in fact.
It's like its little ears. It stands out because our squirrels look like rats. Those squirrels are adorable, wherever in Sweden those are. I thought that was awesome. But yeah, my rating, if it's not obvious, I mean, it's a 5. It's a 5. Like, to me, yeah, this is like the slimiest movie we've seen, maybe. Like, I don't know. There's something about this. You can learn from it. It's sobering. It's about a really uncomfortable subject for a lot of people. And then it comes out and it kind of about times you, because you're like, oh, it's about the beauty of life, not like running from death and trying to compromise with it. Mm-hmm. I think that's great. And I'm excited to dive more into Ingmar Bergman. Like I said, I've only seen Persona. Did not impact me. But this one really did. And just the more and more I learn about how personal all of his films are, I'm stoked to dive into that. So yeah, 5 out of 5 for me.
So my slimiest scene is If the most visually, like the one that I felt the most was the witch burning scene. It and everything around it, just the scenario, the little girl, her acting, and how straight she played it. The distinction between her claiming to see the devil versus her not, and Jan's calling out that all he sees in her eyes is terror. The fact that Antonia's block is looking for her, hoping she sees the devil so that he can have confirmation that God exists, while feeling guilty at the same time. And then as she's being put up to burn, and Jans is like, see, look, all you see is terror. All you see is, and he's like, no, just like, I can't live with this thought that he's not real, because what is the point? And anyway, that was a really impactful scene, but not my slimiest scene. I just wanted to say it. The one that really got me was a really subtle dialogue, witty bit between Antonius and Death while they're playing chess towards the end. And he was like, nothing escapes you. Nothing escapes me. And he's like, well, then tell me about God. And he's like, just doesn't say anything. And he's like, keeps pushing, and he goes, I'm unknowable, or I'm unknowing as well. And I thought that was a really interesting depiction of death and the frustration that, like, every lead was just something so brutally closed to Antonius. It was a perfect closure to their chess game. Was like, none of this got you closer to God at all. And the fact that he can be so all-knowing of Earth and the goings-ons and the cleverness of people, but knew nothing about God, was... And not because he didn't know him or because God didn't exist. It was just, he didn't know him. He had nothing to say, you know? And I just, it really impacted me in a really interesting way. So that's my slimiest scene. As far as rating goes, I, for the very first time, am pulling a Harrison. And this might just be one of the most depressing movies I've ever watched. And entertainment value is, like, really low. It has stunning cinematography. It has stunning acting. The people are beautiful. The premise is amazing. And I was just like, whoa, the whole movie. Not like sick and dirty like The Devil All the Time. Not like I need to go like scrape off my tongue like Perfect Blue
you didn't feel
or anything.
gross. Yeah.
It was just like, I mean, who honestly hasn't, who's tried to have a relationship with God, who has not gone through the deep existential crisis of what if God's not real and what does that mean about my life? And then trying to piece your life back together again, you know, especially being raised in a religious family, right? It's the culture. And so this movie hit really, really close to home. And I think Bergman did an amazing job with it. And so in that regard, it's a 5, but it's one that I'll recommend. And so it's a 5. But it's also so heavy and so deeply philosophical that there's just not very many examples of movies this heavy. So entertainment value is like 0, but everything else is a 5.
Yeah. Totally.
I love it, man. So while you guys were talking, I remembered another scene that I forgot to bring up. It's actually the very last shot when they look up on the mountain and they see
the dance of death.
The dance of death going up.
Oh
the
yeah,
hill.
we didn't even talk about it.
Apparently that scene wasn't in the script, and
Bergman
basically looked up and was like, "Hold on, I got this." And I don't believe that those aren't actually even the actors, the original actors. I think there were a bunch of extras. He just threw them up there and had them do that. And I love how like chaotic and how like deranged that final shot is. Like it really, like, I don't know. It made me uncomfortable watching it.
There's something to be said about just like who's leading the line. Of course, you got Death, and then at the very tail end, you got the actor playing the lyre, and he's like facing the opposite direction. I just thought that was perfect.
Yeah, the fool at the end.
The imagery is perfect.
Have you guys ever read Dante's Inferno, like the original Italian poem?
No.
No, but I will say I just read an X-Men comic where they go through Dante's Inferno. So basically, yeah.
It was surprisingly one of the most insightful and impactful pieces of literature I've ever read. It was not easy to get used to it. Like, and I didn't
Yeah.
feel like I followed everything. And I don't know if that was a translation error or if I'm just dense, but I have so many vivid memories of the descriptions of the different circles of hell. And this movie was like a visual personification of what I already saw in my head. That weird, chaotic, like weird demons and like the paintings on the walls.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that medieval, like, it's just so specific to that era and religion.
Yeah.
Dude.
I hate books that make me feel stupid, by the way. I hate those types of books. You know what's funny? I was actually kind of expecting for us to watch a movie, but by now that I'd be like, I feel stupid after watching this. Like, I feel like I didn't get anything. And so far I haven't had that happen.
Magnolia.
Okay. Well, that was just a stupid movie.
You mean it has depth, but you didn't get it.
That's what no, honestly, like I was watching Seventh Seal and I was like, wait, hold on, there's depth. Okay, hold on. I think I got it. I have my feelings. I have my insights on it. Okay.
Dude, this, I don't know if we're going to get it from Conan the Barbarian, but the Green Knight and the, what, did I say that out loud? Might just have depth. Yeah, beep. please censor me on that. Yeah, I think there's just a lot of movies on our list this month that have hundreds and potentially thousands of years worth of depth and meaning baked into them. Like the Green Knight is the medieval tale of Sir Gawain, and like it's just a modern retelling of it, like a modern depiction but not a modern retelling, I guess. And it's done so well, and it just has the exact same level of like, I feel uncomfortable and there's a lot of morals in this. And I don't know what I should be feeling, but this is the month to feel the feels, Harry.
Yeah. I get that.
It's gonna be awesome.
I'm a little
Let's see what happens with Conan.
I'm so excited.
Let me use my steel.
Dude, it's gonna be so good.
Speaking of Conan, before we head out, just a reminder to the audience to watch the film. We're going to be heading into the desert. We're going to go punch a camel, and we're going to go watch Conan the Barbarian. This is John Milius's 1985 epic, and I'm excited to talk about it with you guys.
Wait! Isn't this the movie that Dune funded? Is that what? I think we remember.
It is not. It is not.
Oh, it's not.
I think I said that, but I lied.
Yeah, it's the sequel.
Oh, okay.
That funded Dune.
Okay, I didn't know there's like 3 of them, right?
I think so.
And then Red Sonja.
We'll talk about Conan next week. Okay.
Let's
just save it.
So
save it for next week.
Conan the Destroyer. Yeah. Dune funded Conan the Destroyer. But anyways, yeah, looking forward to that. Thanks, guys. Awesome episode. I seriously love that episode we just did.
All right,
Peace.
guys.
All right, homies.
Love,
all right,
rock and
peace
roll.
And love. That's a wrap on this episode of Cinema Slime. Be sure to watch the next film for next week's show. We had a blast, and we hope you enjoyed it. This episode was a production by Cinema Slime Productions. This is a group effort, and I speak for all of us when I say thank you. Seriously, it means a lot to us, and thanks for listening however you found us. Help us grow, leave us a 5-star review, and it really helps if you comment and share it with another cinema lover. Our website, cinemaslime.com, is up and running. We're adding essays, all of the episodes can be accessed there, and for our Patreon members, you get every episode ad-free and early. Our social media pages are always active, posting fun stuff, movie-related videos, and other film rabbit holes that we're exploring. You can also show us support by using Buy Me a Coffee, and we'll give you a shout-out if you'd like. All of those links can be found in the episode notes. Love you!